immediately I don't know what to say. Which is interesting because I've been thinking about this for like a really long time. So like, just not knowing anything to say is a little odd off the bat. But I mean, I suppose I'll explain what I'm doing here in the first place. This is really odd. I didn't realize how weird it would be to sit here and look at myself talking. So maybe I should minimize the webcam thing or something. I'm not sure, but pretty much maybe I need to get used to it because clearly I'm already like not being able to talk the way I want to talk, and I suppose the purpose of this is to try and be able to articulate myself better, not get all like smiley and like giggly when I'm talking and like a bit cheeky, because that I've been having conversations before when that's really deteriorated from the point I'm trying to make. Um, and basically, yeah, I thought it would be a good idea to do kind of like a video diary type thing, and I'm gonna upload it publicly just because, you know, I don't like who cares, I'll do it publicly and then see what happens. I'm not saying that this is like gonna be good. No one's like, I'm not saying anyone would want to watch this. I'm clearly like stumbling over my words a lot currently, which is annoying. I'm not sure about the audio levels on this yet. I haven't really figured out my microphone very well. Um, this is definitely just going to be a shambles, if you will. Um, but I also thought this would be a good idea to try and figure some more stuff out. How to better sync audio in Adobe Premiere, how to record better audio, how to talk to a camera, how to articulate myself better and not get all unserious when I'm trying to be serious. So that's kind of the aim here. I'm gonna try and do one of these like maybe every week or probably not every day. Come on, let's be for real. But I don't know if any of this audio is gonna be usable because it's coming up here and it looks very quiet, but who knows? But I also haven't written any kind of script, which you probably can tell by the fact that this is just complete nonsense, pretty much. I don't know what I'm doing, man. I don't. I also don't want to just sound cringe, but like everyone knows, you do have to be cringe in order to be based, and I'm trying to be more based. So that's where I'm at. We've had rats in this flat, and I think we haven't had them in weeks. Like, may have just got the first hearing on cam, but that's kind of completely irrelevant to my point. I kind of want to just talk about what I've been listening to, what I've been watching, what I've been playing, and then just kind of give my opinions on them to again just better articulate myself. I should have made some notes. I do want to get into. I'm working on a script for a video currently. I've got some ideas which will be coming shortly. I'm working on what lyricism really means, what makes good lyricism, what makes bad lyricism. That's something that I feel like I could ramble on like for a long time, which I'm kind of doing right now. Which yeah, but and I've got some other ones I've been working, but yeah, I just kind of want to go through some stuff, try and articulate myself well. And my hope is by like uploading these and like having an archive is I'll eventually be able to like look back and then see the progress I've made. So this is the first one. So hopefully things will get better from here. Maybe you can't hear anything I'm saying. Maybe my levels are really terrible and I don't really know what I'm doing at all. But let's get into it. I've been playing a lot of Borderlands 4 recently, and my opinion's very mixed on it. Because I've played 1, 2, 3 Wonderlands, and I kind of did pre-sequel like a bit. Well, no, I've almost finished it. I just kind of got stuck on the last boss battle, and I had a moment where I was like, "Is this worth it? Is this really worth it?" And then I stopped playing it forever, and I've never gone back to it. I really didn't like that one though. It had a few issues that I just couldn't get past. Like the level design was fine, but could be quite iffy in some places, and it had you keep coming back to like the same like environments, and got a bit boring after a while. But I do love the Borderlands series. I think they're all very fun. Even the pre-sequel, which I do think is my least favorite, and perhaps quite a hot take as well. I would personally put Borderlands 3 above Borderlands 2 on the account of it kind of just feeling way better to play. And obviously, I know a lot of people think that Borderlands 3 has a really terrible story, and that's the reason they don't like it. But and yeah, like it does have bad writing, but did Borderlands 2 have good writing? Like let's be for real right now. Like it's always been pretty like quirky and supposed to be funny. It's like it's very rarely actually funny. We can agree. Um but no, I would put Borderlands 3 above Borderlands 2 just on the account of it feeling so much better to play. I've spent the most time in Borderlands 3. I've completed all of them, like I said, apart from the pre-sequel, but hey, I don't care. I don't care. I'm not finishing that game. It was stressful and it upset me a lot. And I don't want to put myself through that again. So why would I? Why would I? I wouldn't, and I'm not going to. So I finished Borderlands the pre-sequel, the Wonderlands. The oh my god, this is what I'm talking about. I finished Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. A couple days, but like a week ago, and then I was like, shit, like this was really fun. I maybe want to do Borderlands 4 now. I might I finished Borderlands. I finished Tiny Tina's Wonderlands after like kind of having it on the back burner for like maybe a year. I'd just been playing it here and there, like when I could, when I would forget about it a lot and then come back to it, and that's just how it is, I suppose. That was fun. I really enjoyed Wonderlands. It might be. I'm not sure. Maybe I enjoy it better than Borderlands 3 because there are a lot of situations and like little. Again, not articulating myself. The setting can be quite fun in that game. Obviously, it's silly and over the top, and I can understand why a lot of people wouldn't like that. But I quite enjoy this. Like vibrant. The contrast is like turned up to a million. And it's just quite fun to look at, honestly, and that's kind of what I'd like from a Borderlands game. Because I'm not here to talk about the story. I did not pay attention to the story at all. I skipped all the cutscenes. I'll hold my hands up. The cutscenes were skipped because like I don't care. I don't care about the story. The world building. Okay, I'm going off on such a tangent right now. I need to get back to what I was saying. I like Tiny Tina's Wonderlands because there's this really cool setting, very vibrant colors, contrast. Just bear with me. And they introduced this like spell system, which I know is quite similar to what they have in Borderlands. No, actually, it's quite new. It's quite a new idea. That was quite a nice thing to just have like a secondary like damage output or like health or whatever. I quite enjoyed that, and it was very like linear. I was a bit skeptical. One of the main things I was quite skeptical about with not Battlefield. I'm very excited about Battlefield 6 coming out this week. Whoa, gonna be a good time. I will tell you my thoughts on that next week, though. Yippee! uh, I don't know what the mic noise is gonna be like. So I'm moving. Maybe I need to sit a bit more still in order to get better audio. Because that's gonna sound bad for sure, right? So I'll try and hold it still. So one of my biggest issues with Borderlands 4 like pre-release was the fact that they had like this full like open world that was like all linked together, and there was no like separate zones, which I thought was a really interesting way to take the IP, because I always thought that was like this. It was kind of like a good way of introducing loads of different introducing loads of different environments and different like color palettes and different enemy types. But then if you have it all set in one seamless open world, then how are you gonna have that kind of variation? Surely it'd be quite tough, and maybe it wouldn't work very well. I'm maybe 20 hours in. I've got a fair amount of time in the game, but I'm not. I probably don't have enough to like definitive, because I haven't finished the game. I can't definitively say anything. These are obviously just my thoughts. Again, like I said earlier, this is like the first time I'm doing this, so obviously I'm not articulating myself as well as I'd liked. I'm kind of stumbling over myself. It's kind of an absolute shit show. Kind of hoping I can get better. I'm recording this on my MacBook webcam, which obviously looks really good. But I know I've just stumbled over myself again because I interrupted myself to say that. But yeah, again I've kind of lost track of what I was saying because I'm an idiot. This is gonna get better. Lol. I was a bit worried about this open world, but in reality, it's kind of the game is framed in an entirely different way. Like all the other games were framed in this. I suppose Borderlands 1 and 2 were kind of different from 3 and Wonderlands, as they were like a bit more open. You had a bit more agency, and like you obviously still had that in Wonderlands and Borderlands 3, but there was definitely this sense of like being pushed along, and like the missions would take you to different places each time, and you're like in Wonderlands you're kind of moving up this map until the end, and then obviously in Borderlands 3 you're going around different planets, so you're constantly getting new locations and new visuals to look at. Borderlands 1 and 2 I suppose were a bit more, I mean, they still definitely had varieties, especially Borderlands 2, do not get me wrong. But there was definitely more of an openness to it, which I personally didn't like. I preferred having this linear progression kind of thing with like different things you can do in different areas, but it's not like this overwhelming big map, which is obviously what Borderlands 4 is. So it can, I was a bit worried about that. But in actuality, it's like, it's not that bad. It's a bit different to how I would imagined, and it does flow quite well. You have like the story missions, and then it is probably too big, and I would have honestly probably preferred something like Borderlands 3. But I am enjoying it as of now. Like, I'm enjoying it, but I enjoyed Borderlands 3 more. Maybe it's hard to tell, but I definitely it's not this like overwhelming mess which I thought it might have been. So that's fun. That's good. I'm a little skeptical on these like kind of Ubisoftisms that they've implemented, like these watchtowers and like enemy base camps, which might prove to be a bit annoying, a bit tedious. I'm having fun with it at the moment. Like I said, the main reason I like the Borderlands series is that main gameplay loop. So when I just get a chance to do a little bit more of it, I'm not too bothered. But then that's not to say that it's going to be that way forever. It could be an issue later on when I know, especially in like the third act of stories in open world games, pacing becomes an issue because generally in more traditional media, the third act is where things start to ramp up, but then in terms of like pace, but then in an open world, it's kind of hard to let the player have the agency that you want them to have with like the open world and the choices they can have, but also carry on with that kind of pace. But again, like I said, story not really the biggest issue to me. I'm not paying loads of attention to that, so that's not the biggest issue. But then it can also affect like gameplay because as juvenile as this may sound, like in the other Borderlands games, I like the third act, not because like the story is ramping up, because I'm not gonna lie, I had no idea what was happening, but the environments you were fighting in obviously became more dramatic, and they were cool, and they were a visual feast to look at, and that was fun. So I'm curious as to how that's gonna handle it. I suppose I'll report back when I've finished the game. Um, I am interested as to how that's gonna play out. Something that I have noticed that I do really like though is the boss battles in it. I really liked in Borderlands 3, especially like the boss fights in that. You'd have one at the end of like every mission, and it was really good. It was really good. It was a crescendo. It made sense like contextually, like the each of the bosses, and they were really fun, and they were just a good time generally. Um, and although they're happening a lot less in Borderlands 4, I'm not seeing as many. I played it for like 20 hours, like I said, and I've maybe encountered like 3 or 4 bosses in the main story quest at least. They do have like these world bosses that kind of just appear as and when in the open world. Readjusting. But um yeah, the bosses that I've played so far have been really interesting because they've had like like an environmental implication, wrong word to use. They've had like environmental effects in the arena. Like one, you have to like throw acid at the guy to break his shield. Another, you have to do the same thing. Maybe there isn't much variety actually, because that's kind of the only thing. Just throw a thing at them so their shield breaks and you can actually do damage. But I've liked what I've seen so far because it kind of allows for more expansive boss fights in the future, which I hope we will get. Who is to say though? It could really go either way, but I like the way it's shaping up because it just makes it a little more fun than going into an arena. And yeah, they might have like different attacks and different uh like different elemental effects will have different levels of good on them, but it's always kind of the same. It's like health bar, like, blah, blah, blah. Whereas in Borderlands 4, there has been this like extra step, and you kind of have to figure it out yourself, which I've appreciated. That might be all I can think to say about Borderlands 4 at the moment. Um, I'm liking the gun variety as well. Like in all Borderlands games, it's always really great. Um, the I don't know why they didn't do this in Borderlands 1 or 2. They must have just like it must have been an oversight, but like a refill ammo option at like a vending machine is just really good and really great instead of like having to go through. Obviously, it's like a small detail, but it does really help in the flow of the gameplay. It goes a long way. The bike that like your spawnable bike is a little. It's fine. It's fine. It works. It's kind of fine. Like the driving bits, I never really cared about anyway. So it's like having something you can just pop up wherever is pretty good. Although the navigation is something that I've had a massive issue with because when you set a waypoint, you don't have like a thing on the road telling you where to go, so you're constantly like checking the map to see if you're going the right way, if there's a better way you can go, which can get quite frustrating sometimes. It's not been like it's not been that big of a problem, but you know, it it doesn't like ruin the game. It's not a game ruining thing, but it could definitely be better. And I'm a little bit, you know, it's definitely something they could just add in the future. Um, it's just like a very small patch, so hopefully they do that because the navigation can be a bit iffy currently. So yeah, that might be all for Borderlands 4 actually. I will I will update this. By the way, I'm not expecting anyone to see this. I'm kind of just talking. I've explained myself already. I've explained myself. I don't care. Uh, I will update when I know when I've played more. Maybe I'll change my opinions a bit. Maybe I'll learn some more. Who knows? We'll see. We will see. I've recently finished The Walking Dead, the show. I saw seasons 1 through 8 a couple of years ago, and anyone who's watched that show knows that if you're binging the whole thing, it's a fucking massive commitment, and it's quite easy to get bogged down with it after a while. And like, I'm surprised I managed to get 8 seasons in, to be honest. Like, without having to have like a 2 year break because it is so relentless and so there's just a lot. There's a lot, especially in the later seasons when they start getting a bit longer. Um, I have a complicated relationship with this show. I'm not sure really how I feel about it because on one hand, it's like one of my favorite shows. I love a show that lasts a really long time. Uh, and you just get to see this really grand journey that all these characters go on. Because then, even in the later seasons, you can just think like, wow, how far we've come, I suppose. But you know, maybe that's a little juvenile. I don't know. I think there's just no consistency with the show, though. I think, although even though I might have liked some things that a lot of other people didn't like, but like critics and stuff, not real. There's no real such thing as a critic. I shall get into that more in a different video. I'm kind of working on something like that. But no, because season 1, obviously, I think everyone will agree is like a great season of TV. Because there's only 6 episodes. It goes by really fast. Um, you get like a good introduction to all the characters you need to be introduced to. It's not boring. And then obviously I know there was some production issues. Season 2, I enjoyed season 2. I know like it's quite a divisive season. Some people really like it. Some people think it's not very good. I can see. I liked it. I can see why you wouldn't know. It's very slow compared to the season 1. You get like it's like we're on the farm and that's like it. We're just on a farm for like 16 episodes or however many episodes. It doesn't really matter, I don't think. So so yeah, season 2 is a little bit iffy because they are kind of just hanging out on a farm the whole time, and like visually, it's nothing compared to like season 1 because that was very grand. You have you have Atlanta. It's pretty impressive, especially like some of the shots in the streets. Um, Although I didn't mind the story and the narrative through season 2 of them kind of, being like, what the fuck's in the barn, guys? What is in the barn? And then like Shane's entire descent. That was really interesting. I think he's a very interesting character study, and there's a lot going on there because it's very easy. And I see a lot of people being like, well, Rick's the good guy. Rick's the best. Rick, yeah. When I think it is presenting a lot more nuance than that, and I think rarely does it cut. Is it that simple? You know, is it that simple as saying like Rick is the good guy and Shane is the bad guy, and the governor and Negan are the bad guys? Okay, they're bad. They're bad. But we will get into that. I'm going through the seasons now. I am back. The lights are on. It's getting a little dark outside. So where was I? Season 2. This I need to stop doing this. I need to stop stopping and then forgetting where I was. But we'll carry on. So yeah, I think, and there are other interesting bits of season 2. I'm a little bit of a sucker for romance. So when Maggie and Glenn's arc was happening, I kind of loved it. It was kind of great. Unfortunately, I know it's not exactly incredible story writing or yeah, it's not winning any. It might have won records. I'm not actually sure. It's not like breaking any traditions, but it's just good fun. It's just good fun, like romance in like a shitty situation, I suppose. I enjoyed the reveal at the end with Sophia in the barn. That was horrible. Um, but ultimately, there are way better seasons. Especially with the first two, they were definitely, obviously intentionally, they were like lacking a villain because the villain was like kind of the apocalypse, which maybe I do like actually. I'm kind of starting to think maybe that is a good thing that I enjoy. Um, but obviously, like narratively and casual in terms of like casual watching, it's kind of nicer to have an actual villain to root against instead of this kind of idea that everyone's against the apocalypse, which obviously is more realist. Maybe I don't know what's to happen in an apocalypse, but um, I kind of like both. I kind of like the idea of having these characters be in a world where they have to fight against just the world itself, but then I also enjoy the idea of like villains, but in more of a, you know, I kind of get it in more of a why I enjoy watching TV way instead of this is like a cool idea that's being presented, if you understand. But then we get to season 3. I didn't plan on doing this. Like I said, I haven't planned on doing any of this. I'm kind of just rambling about things that interest me, which is actually really great. I'm enjoying this. I'm loving this. So maybe I'll do this every week. That'd be fun. Um, yeah, so season 3, we get like the start of the prison arc. Obviously, everyone loves the prison arc. It's visually very cool, very grim and like dark, and everyone's had the thought like prison, zombie apocalypse. They got bars there. You can just lock the doors and we'll be all right. So that's quite fun that they chose to go there. Obviously we have Laurie's death, which is horrible, and then the whole like phone thing, and Rick's starting to lose his mind, um, which yeah, it's been a while. I haven't rewatched them since a couple years ago, so my memory might be hazy, and maybe I shouldn't be talking about them. But hey, like I said, I can do as I please. So it's an interesting one, that whole arc, because it's like I do think there's something deeper with people like general the community as a whole disliking Laurie because was she that bad? Like I can't remember her doing anything that weird. Yeah, she was like with Shane, but he's not like a he wasn't particularly a bad. He obviously got a bit weird in season 2, but generally he was like not that bad of a guy. She thought Rick was dead, so it's not like she's cheating on him or anything. It's kind of just a shit situation. But I see a lot of people disliking Laurie, and I think that comes down to a much bigger issue of like misogynism in television and how patriarchal views can kind of dismiss like real situation. Well, zombie apocalypse not real, but like real feelings and how people would really act, and I think that's quite unfair. I think Laurie was a good character, and I think the community has treated her quite unfairly. I do think her death was maybe less impactful. We didn't see her die on screen. She kind of just like she kind of go on. Carl just walks out. I was like, yeah, she done, brother. So that's I don't know. It was all right. Uh, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it, but could have been a bit better, I suppose. Doesn't really matter though. Because there's much worse coming in the future. Let me tell you that for free. Then we get obviously like the whole like flu arc, which I do really enjoy as a concept. I don't think it was probably played out the way I wanted it to be played out, but as a concept, I think it's very fun to explore. What happens if there is like an outbreak of a different illness when you're in a zombie apocalypse? And it's not that unlikely because these people are exerting themselves to like the absolute maximum. Uh, there's they're like dirty all the time. They don't shower. Like being ill is not. I'm surprised that this is the only time they ever explored that idea. Really, obviously, like people got like a bit ill, but there was never like this outbreak of flu, which I think would have been a really interesting like area to explore in the future. I mean, it's not gonna happen. Maybe it will. We got Daryl Dixon and Dead City happening. Probably another spin-off at some point. But that's besides the point, really. Um, I'm worried I'm not articulating myself at all here. Oh, it doesn't matter. This is season one. This is episode one, season one, baby. We're gonna go up from here. This is ground zero. I'm hoping I can get better. But let's stop talking about that. Like I need to stop worrying. I do this a lot. I do this thing a lot where I'm like think I'm doing something productive and then I get worried that I'm not doing it well enough and I'm not like perfect straight away. I'm like, is this even a good way of getting, like noting my opinions, like talking about them? Should I be writing them down? Then you can kind of vet them better instead of having your words kind of just talk about. See, I don't do this when I'm writing. But maybe I should stop talking about this because it's kind of irrelevant. It's kind of a personal thing of stopping myself doing for anything. Is this even productive? See, doing it again. Duh. I need to just stop, calm down, and have a good time, I think. So, yeah. And then I usually deter myself from even trying because it's like, well, it sounded like shit anyway, so what's even the point? So I'm going to do one next Monday. This is going to be every day, every week, I mean, not every day. I don't do that much stuff in order for it to warrant every day. Maybe we'll change the setup. Maybe I'll sit on the couch or something. Oh, that's a fun setup, isn't it? If I'm sat here, TV, hello everyone. PS5, flex. We were talking about The Walking Dead, weren't we? God, I'm a mess. This doesn't work. It does work. I'm having a good time, and surely that's all that matters. Because I just want to, I want to get better at this. I want to be better. How many times am I gonna say the same thing? It's like in my head, it's like if I just say it over and over again, then it will be true instead of actually just doing the thing. So I'm gonna just do the thing now. Season 3, we're in the prison, the flu thing has happened, we find like the whole prison crew underutilized, I think, but I can see, they kind of like felt like they were put in there, like the people who were living in the prison already, it kind of felt like they were put in there, and then it's just like, oh shit, what are we going to do now with them? So it kind of feels like it goes nowhere, which is a bit unfortunate, but also like, it's not that big of an issue in my opinion. I don't care all that much. Then we obviously have the start of the governor thing, which, everyone loves the governor, but I don't care. I don't care about that man. I think Woodbury maybe can be an interesting topic. Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention when this whole thing was happening on the show, due to like outside circumstances that were happening when I was watching the show. But Or maybe I'm allowed my own opinion and I didn't like him that much. He wasn't that interesting of a character. I thought he was very archetypal and very generic. Oh, dead daughter, but she's a zombie. Don't kill her. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't really understand what was that bad about Woodbury. It kind of seemed lit. Obviously, he was a bit weird, but what did he do that badly? Maybe I should have done that much research before I started this, but I didn't. So we'll just keep trucking on, and then I think like Herschel's beheading was pretty fun. It was pretty like what the fuck, and I think that was quite a good crescendo to either season 3 or 4. They're kind of the same thing. 3 and 4 are the same thing. Well, I don't know. I think everyone kind of does this. It's like you kind of segment them into like where they take place. So like season 1, Atlanta; season 2, Farm; seasons 3 and 4, Prison; 5, Terminus; then like 6 through, then like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and kind of 11 are kind of all Alexandria, which is perhaps a reason as to why it kind of started getting a bit worse then. But so season 4, I can't distinguish that from season 3 and 4. So some of what I said might have been season 4. I don't know, and I'm not gonna look it up, guys. I'm not gonna look it up. This is stream of consciousness right now. But then season 5, obviously, we get the full, or maybe it happens late in season 4. I don't know. We get the fall of the prison and them running away. There's some pretty cool scenes. I think Glenn runs into Tara here. That's fun. We love Tara. Or just a community hater because she's a fucking woman in power, bro. Maybe I shouldn't. Oh, okay, let's not get no politics, guys. No politics. I think season 5 is epic because they're all like split up. They're all like, let's get to Terminus. This place sounds lit. Even though they already have a reason to distrust random groups with Woodbury, and they kind of just walk straight into Terminus because they're like, yeah, well, they like the sign says it's gonna be really good there, so it's gonna be really good. So I suppose that is kind of, but like, who am I to judge? Who am I to judge? That is a situation that I have never found myself in. I've never found myself in the zombie apocalypse, so I can't really say whether that is good or like the right thing to do. But they go on a journey to Terminus, and I'm sure things happen along the way, but I'm not gonna lie, I can't particularly remember any of them. So they get to Terminus, and then they are cannibals and they're eating everyone, which is a bit. I just thought if someone's here and they're listening to this as like for like a overview of what happened in Walking Dead, then they're gonna be disappointed because this isn't ideal, I don't think, for that. So they get their cannibals. They put them in a thing. They start eating them, and then Rick like girl bosses, and they like run away. Then they find Gabe in the woods. He's just a wet wipe to begin with. Like so much so that it's like absurd. They like let that man have no humility whatsoever. Really, it's kind of like the humanity. I don't know. They just don't let him really be a character. He's so one note, which is so obvious to like set up in the later seasons that he's like, well, he's big and tough now, which is, I suppose fine. Well, I'm not like. I don't think I'm watching like a masterpiece. This is TV, and obviously like a TV show is gonna be quite trope heavy, and I'm not blaming it for that. And then we get obviously like the red machete thing, the tainted meat. That's quite fun. That's all fun. I enjoy all of that. And then season 6 we go to Alexandria, which starts off kind of lit and fire, and Rick starts to have this thing with one of the women there. Even one of her sons is like, he's a dickhead, and then the other one's just like, again, a wet wipe. But he is a child, I suppose. But then Carol's bullying him for some reason. She's gone off the deep end and all this season. But then Rick kind of puts his foot down. Things get a bit messy. They kill a load of the saviors to help out Rooftop, which is like a neighboring is a neighboring settlement. The saviors. Negan comes along, and then we get maybe one of the most infamous scenes of the circle and the bat, and then Abraham gets his head splat, and then Glenn does too, which unfortunate for Abraham, because no one seems to give a fuck about his death there. It was so overshadowed by how much everyone loved Glenn. But that, they were. I mean, Abraham was whatever. He was. I suppose he was kind of a decent character, but he had nothing on Glenn. Glenn was a true G. And then the start of season 7 is really awesome too. You have like just Negan taunting the shit out of Rick, and it's really cool. It's really Andrew Lincoln's performance is like awesome. It's like that's a broken man. It's really good. But then unfortunately, the rest of season 7 and all of season 8 largely just falls into one like slog of like, the war's happening, rah rah rah, Negan versus Rick, and there are some interesting moments like in there. I think Negan's affinity for Carl is a very interesting concept, as he was kind of the reason the war stopped in the end anyway. And then there's Carl's death, which I thought was quite... I know a lot of people don't like this, but I quite enjoyed... I mean, I didn't enjoy it. I'm not a psychopath. He was like a child, I think. But I thought it was quite a good way to send him off. I know there were some things behind the scenes that were a bit rough, but I enjoyed the way that they sent him off, because it kind of showed that his naivety and his willingness to help anyone is maybe not the best idea for survival in the world they live in. So that was good, but then the rest of season 7 and 8 was kind of dull as shit, and this is obviously where I dropped off originally, because I think binging them, especially just like watching nothing but Walking Dead, it kind of, you get to this point where it's like, oh my god, nothing is happening. We've sat through 6 episodes now and nothing fucking happened. So we dropped off. But then I began again a few weeks ago. We just moved to London, and because obviously London is a boring place where you can't do anything outside your house, so I've been sitting in and watching loads of Walking Dead. That was sarcasm. So season 9 starts, and Ricky's got a shit haircut. I liked him better with the long curly hair. But, who am I to judge? Big bushy beard? No, thank you, Rick. But we start off bridge. He's really set on this bridge idea. He's like really locked in on this bridge idea, and he gets people. Oh yeah, no, they had a fight. Him and Negan had a fight. He spared Negan's life, slit his throat a bit, but he's fine. They're keeping him in a cell, and they've kind of recruited all the saviors to just like kind of work. I think they still live at the savior warehouse, maybe. But they all like kind of get along. But obviously there's some friction because some of those still really like Negan and stuff. But and then they recruit a load of people to make this bridge. And there's a lot of friction. There's a guy who he played, I can't remember his name, but he played a character in Shameless, who was like a sex addict, and I can't unsee that from him, and he was being all serious, and obviously sex uh, addiction isn't like a funny thing, but it was presented in a very funny way in Shameless. And this guy was he was a comic relief in that show. So it was funny just to see him be this big, gruff, like kind of guy. So that was fun. A little bit unserious though for me, just because nothing to do with his performance or anything. But I didn't. It was fun. Rick was there, which he was not for a lot longer. But so, and then something happens. Him and Daryl get into a bit of a fight uh, because Maggie's going to kill Negan, and Daryl and Rick's going to stop her, and Daryl's like stopping Rick from stopping Maggie from killing Negan. And then they have a little fight. Rick rides off on his horse and then pulls the most like superhuman level stuff I've ever seen in TV. He gets impaled by a rebar through his stomach. He pulls himself off, trots off on his horse, and obviously it doesn't end there. It's like it's a bad situation, and he blows up the bridge to like save everyone, and then leaves the show. But then we get the thing where Janus like saves him and says, "Oh, I've got a B or whatever." I have seen the ones who live, but I'll talk about that at a different time. We're already at 50 minutes ish. But yeah, and then season 10 we get like the Whisperers. I suppose the Whisperer arc started in season 9, but season like 9.5. There's kind of 12 seasons because season like when Rick leaves, it's so. When Rick leaves, it's so like clear that it's like a new era. We skipped like 4 years. Judith is like an actual character now instead of just a baby. So season 9.5 feels like a completely different season from season 9, but we get like the Whisperers arc, which are people who wear like the Walker skin to blend in. Very cool and very creepy, and Alpha does a great job of being like a really weird and like off-putting villain. I love her. Beta's just like this big strong guy, and then this goes into season 10, and it's quite long again. Actually, no, it's not too long. It's actually fine. It's how long like a villain should last. Obviously, Negan's a bit different because Jeffrey Dean Morgan is just a treat to watch. So they obviously like the viewers responded to that and they wanted to see more of him. So I'm not surprised that they kept him around for longer. But Alpha, yeah, she's good villain. Lydia, I liked Lydia as a character, maybe a bit annoying, but also she's a teen, so, and she was kind of played off Henry's story a lot, and I think her development was fun to watch. I don't particularly think she was like annoying or anything. And then and then we get like Princess, not Angel, sorry. In season 10, who's definitely an interesting one, very divisive. I thought it was quite fun to have this eccentric, like kind of goofy character put into this like horrible universe. I thought it was quite an interesting mix-up, especially halfway through season 10, or like near the end of season 10, where things are getting a bit boring now. So I quite enjoyed like the mix-up there. I know a lot of people don't love her, but she was good. She was a fun little addition to the main cast. And then season 11 rolls around, and it's kind of an entire mess. Although the latter half of... I probably preferred season 11 to season 10, just because season 10 felt really dry. It was like 22 episodes, and I know season 11 was 24, but they just weren't paced right at all in season 10. They were like... There was a few episodes where nothing really happened at all. It was quite boring a lot of the time. The Whisperers arc ended like halfway through the season. It was really weird. But then you get season 11, and then, which I thought was a mess, but it was fun because we got a lot more Maggie x Negan dialogue, which I thought was always very interesting. And you have like this weird, I can't remember their names, guys, but you had this arc with these like soldier people that Daryl pretended to be a part of, and then betrayed them all. That was fun. I enjoyed it, but again, like silly, goofy. it's not long enough to be a seasonal arc, but then it's kind of too short in the sense that they build up these characters and then like 3 or 4 episodes later they're all dead. So it's like it's a bit of a I like by itself I really enjoyed it, but overall it felt a bit like it wasn't placed correctly, or like I don't even know where they would place it really. And then we get obviously Commonwealth, which was it's just too it's long. No, I mean the arc isn't long, but like I don't. I think like introducing all these like corrupt politicians is a little bit too close to home. You know, it's a bit too real. Because as much as like it's not a good, it's like escapism, but it's not like good escapism. It's not like I want to be there, but it's also like I don't want to think about real world issues about higher class people taking advantage of working class people. I don't want to think about that when I'm watching my zombie television show, you know. So I think that got a bit out of hand. I think it was done well, but I also just don't think it was entirely necessary. I thought some of the characters were good. Um, I liked the idea of the Commonwealth. Weird how that is so big. It's like 50,000 people. They keep saying, but like that's big. How would you not know about that? Like where are they putting them? They've been around like for giant Virginia, like a lot. So it's like surely you might have seen some signs, but I digress, I suppose. And then we end with this like big battle, which Daryl, of course, he says something like, "We're not the Walking Dead." Which I fucking loved. Like, come on, we're corny. We're embracing the corniness. Let's just do it. Let's get Daryl to say the line. And that was fun. Rosita dies. That's sad. But also, I liked her. She was a good character, but she was kind of missing a lot in the later episodes, and I was not surprised at her death. And she had the best death because she was like kind of surrounded by everyone she loved, so it wasn't too. I mean, obviously she is dead, so it's still pretty bad, but could have been worse. And that's where we leave the main show, and I suppose that's where I'm going to leave this episode now. I've watched a bit more, and I'll talk about like music and stuff next week because yeah, this has been going on for almost an hour now. Oh my god! And talking to myself for this long is quite tough, and my voice is starting to hurt now. So I think I'll leave the music stuff till next time, whether that be in a week or a few days. Who knows? But yeah, this was pretty much for me. I've explained everything, so goodbye, myself. I hope I enjoyed watching this in 10 years when I wanted to see what I was like when I was 23 and just moved to London. So, farewell.